everybody, it's Taylor here today, and I'm excited to show you how you can make two different cards using one cutting plate. So we're going to end up using this cutting plate as a stencil, and you're going to get two different pieces that you can use on two different cards. So these are the supplies that I'm going to be using to create these. We're going to start with the inks. I'm going from light to dark, so we're starting with pink champagne, then going to guava, our new fruit punch, and then finishing with cherry pop. I also wanted to try these cool brushes that I've been seeing a lot of lately. They have really fine bristles. There are so many bristles, and I love that because it really makes for a nice, smooth, clean application. It's very consistent, and all those little bristles really get into the grooves of the detailed cutting plate. You can also see that it's flexible, which allows for a nice application of the ink as well. So these are the products we're going to be using. I have our new framed roses cutting plate that we're going to cut out of sugar cube cardstock. You can see the beautiful detail there. Then to fit inside that frame, we have our framed script love and we have our framed script hello. So excuse me just a second while I go die cut these and you can see how they turn out. Okay, so now we're all set to go and we have our framed roses cutting plate cut from the sugar cube. I also saved the inner piece because we're going to need to use that as a mask when we do our ink application. So first I have a piece of cardstock that measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I have some Scotch adhesive dot roller. I'm going to just put a little bit of adhesive around the outside and inside frame in order to hold it down. You can see those really small bits of adhesive on there, so you don't want to cover your cutting plate with adhesive, just enough to hold it in place on your cardstock. So I'm going to center that and press it down so that it will stay in place there. And then we're going to use our brushes to apply our ink. Like I mentioned though, first we want to put in that mask. That's so that the center piece is going to stay white. So I just applied a little bit of adhesive and put that into the center. So here we are with our brushes. I'm starting with the pink champagne ink, just adding quite a bit of ink to that brush. And then you can see as I apply that, I start off on my placemat and then continue on to my cardstock. I like to do that to get those first really intense bits of color off of the brush and onto the placemat instead of getting concentrated ink on my project. So after you have applied that nice shade of pink champagne all the way across your cardstock, you're going to go ahead with the guava next. I'm using the next bigger brush, and there's really no rhyme or reason to what size brush I wanted to use. But again, wipe that first bit off onto your placemat before going onto your project. And make sure you overlap the colors as you go because you want it to be a nice transition from light to dark. So next up, I'm going to use our new fruit punch. So this is a great 3-color combo that you can use for lots of our simply stamped flowers, and just in general, these 3 colors work great together. I'm actually going to come in and add just a touch of cherry pop. That's our dark red color down there at the bottom because it draws out the color nicely and I think gives us just a little bit more variation in those 3 colors that we put on previously. So when that's finished, we can get that center mask off and then take our cutting plate off, which reveals this beautifully stenciled piece. So I'm going to take my paper trimmer and just cut the colored edge off around the outside. So then you're going to be left with this piece with 4 white edges that you're going to go ahead and adhere to a sugar cube card base. I'm adhering that with a little bit of Scotch Dot Runner, which is my favorite runner adhesive. And we're just going to center that on the card base. Then I'm going to take my adhesive remover to get rid of those little bits of adhesive that were left behind when we adhered our cutting plate in the first step. So just rub that adhesive remover over the top and it gets rid of any bits of adhesive that were left behind. So on this card, I wanted to also have the gradient effect on my die cut. So I'm going to go ahead and just apply that ink just like we did in the first step with my brushes. I'm starting with the pink champagne, moving to the guava, and then I'll finish it up with the cherry pop. And you can see how nicely these very fine bristles are behaving with my very intricate die cut. It's not ripping my paper or tearing it. It's all working together very nicely. And you can see when I hold it up here, we're going to have a really pretty tri-colored die cut there. that we're going to end up adhering to the center of our stenciled piece with the roses around the outside. I'm just going to use a little bit of tape to put that down, and then that card's finished, and we can use the piece that we were left with after we did our first step. So this is the actual cutting plate that we applied the ink to. I'm going to put some adhesive on the back, just on the inner and outer frame, and adhere that to the center of the card base. And for this card, we're going to use the framed script Hello for the center, again adding some liquid adhesive there and adhering it down to the card. So now you can see how I created 2 cards using just one cutting plate. We only applied ink one time, and we came away with these 2 beautiful pieces that you can create into 2 different cards. You can also see how I added you to the love so that it says love you. And I ended up adding friend to my hello card so that it says hello friend. Those stamps are part of our Friendly Phrases stamp set, and I would recommend doing that in your MISTI after you've adhered your cards so that it goes right where you want it to. So I hope you've learned something new about this fun technique. It's kind of a 2-for-1 where you can get 2 cards out of 1 cutting plate. You can find all of these products at the Tailored Expressions web store at tailoredexpressions.com. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day. Bye, guys.